So, Megan, what's currently sitting in your shame shed?
So much is sitting in my shame shed. I am so excited for this episode today because I feel like this is me. I feel like I am the queen of starting something and not being able to finish it, which means I'm probably not the best at giving advice on it, but there is so much in my shame shed. I don't know, it's not even real. My shame shed is more of like a massive box on the top of my wardrobe, and it is everything that I have ever started and not finished. So there is a ukulele in there, DJ decks, watercolour paints, sketching materials, air dry clay, crochet, skateboard, and then
how big's the box?
It's massive. It's massive.
Just thinking of a full-size skateboard.
It's like one of those massive, like long boxes on the top of my wardrobe, and it's just got everything in there. And it is like a graveyard of all the arts and crafts and hobbies that I started and never finished. What is in your shame shed?
There's probably two things. My Pilates, which I've spoke about many times. My workbooks are in my bedroom and basically just waiting to do my exam. The second thing is actually in my parents' loft, and it's just loads of products from when I had an e-commerce business. So there's like bamboo cups, cutlery, like a million bamboo straws.
I'm sure you'll use those when you have a party or something though.
Yeah, maybe. My mum's like, when are we getting rid of all this stuff? But I'm holding on to it just in case one day I decide to start my e-commerce business again.
It's always one day, isn't it? One day I'll do it. One day I'll use it. So you don't want to throw it away. But it's just like, I think there's almost like a hoarding element to it as well. Like all my stuff in my box that I have not used in ages is just sitting there because I don't want to get rid of it, because it's always of the, well, one day I might decide that, you know, I want to pick it up again and I want to get back into it and I'm going to be really good at it. But when I started it, I wasn't. But, you know, you never know in the future.
I think that's it, though. It's the initial start in it, and that's what's exciting. It's the novelty-seeking. You know, oh, my God, this is going to completely transform my life. Candle making. I'm going to start making candles and become an Etsy top seller. And then as soon as you actually get into it and the novelty wears off, it's not interesting anymore.
It's not. And I think the worst time for me in starting loads of different hobbies was probably lockdown. And I can imagine a lot of people who are listening to this are probably thinking, yeah, lockdown was like the worst for like just starting random hobbies, because there was nothing else to do. And it was like, well, if I'm not working, I don't have anything else to do, I might as well pick up this new thing. And that's where majority of my things started. So I think my first thing was I was going to be a gardener, and I bought like all the plants, all the pots, everything from B&Q. I think within like 3 days I was like, no, I'm not a gardener, and all the plants died. Gave up on that one. Then decided I was going to be Bob Ross, and bought like a canvas, an easel. I bought loads of oil paints, and I literally sat there and watched all the Bob Ross tutorials on YouTube and did loads of painting. Then I was like, this is really long. Got bored of that. Bought a ukulele, learned how to play like one song on it. Then got bored of that. Duolingo, starting a language. Got bored of that. The Duolingo owl, when he gets aggressive, is too much for me. I'm like, no, he's like getting, the little app changes and he's all angry, and you just start getting really angry notifications. I was like, it's too much. Crocheting, did like one chain and then was like, can't do it, fuck this.
But you spend so much money on it as well.
I know.
And you spend all this money and so much of you hyper focusing on this one thing, and then you're just not bothered anymore. And I think there's actually quite a lot of shame around that. And it can make you feel really lazy and inconsistent, because it's like, why do I get so excited about this thing? And imagine myself, you know, living as that person, and then all of a sudden you just don't have the motivation to do it anymore. And it can create a lot of just shame. And it's not, it just makes you feel like a pretty shit person, I think.
It's the embarrassment of it as well. Like, I think there's a lot of shame around it and a lot of embarrassment, because, you know, like when you get really excited about it in the start, you tell everyone, look, I'm going to start doing this is going to be amazing. And then like the shame of being like, oh, I've given up on it, or I'm bored, or, you know, don't want to do it anymore. And it makes you feel like a quitter. And you just get like embarrassed of telling people, and they're like, are you still doing this? And you're like, nah, I got bored of it, because it makes you seem like you're lazy and you don't have any willpower. But I think it's really important to, you know, say before we get into anything, is that ADHD brains are wired for novelty. So it's not a case of being lazy or not having willpower. It's, you know, we're just thinking about the new thing and what's next, and we're constantly searching for novelty. And when the novelty is no longer there, we don't have the motivation to do it. It's already past, we're already thinking about the next thing. And on a positive light, how many people can say they've attempted like 15
well, that is the
hobbies?
thing, isn't it? I think you actually become very good at lots of different things because you're willing to start, even if it doesn't last. I think we can both say that when we started this podcast, we were both a bit concerned that it would just be a hyperfixation for us both. And don't get me wrong, there's been times where it has been difficult and we've maybe struggled to find the motivation, but having each other, and we'll come to that when we go into the tips of how to deal with your shame shared and trying to keep consistent with things, that having another person to hold you accountable can be really helpful.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, even when we started this podcast, it is like the dopamine of starting it is like the starting of it is always the fun thing, but sustaining something is not fun. It doesn't give you as much excitement. And there even times we've spoken about in the last episode, you know, where it is difficult to keep doing something and to have that ambition to stick to it.
It's because it's routine, right? And routine's boring. So the first part, it's novelty, it's exciting. And then it's in those moments, and we've spoken about this, where it does just feel a little bit boring, feels like routine, nothing's really happening. But it's sticking in those moments that actually the success comes after that. Or, you know, you might just think, why, like, for example, with the crocheting, why can I not do this? And this is shit, I'm just going to throw it in the bin. But actually, if you maybe gave it another few weeks, you might have realised that, oh, actually, I am getting better at this.
Yeah, exactly. But there's so much grief around it.
Massively.
As well. Like, you paint this picture of this person that you're going to be, like this identity, and it's like, yeah, I'm gonna be someone who paints, you know, after work on the weekends. Like, I'm going to be painting, sat there in my dungarees, and, you know, being that girl that does these nice little hobbies and things, and you paint a picture and you think of your life, and then, you know, when you lose interest in it, there's like that grief of being like, I'm never going to be this person. Like, you almost want yourself to be that person, and then when you can't be, it's like you're mourning the fact that you're never going to be that type of person that can do all these like hobbies and crafts and new things and be able to actually stick to it.
Yeah, and I think it also comes down to that as well, trying to be perfect, because we are perfectionists, people with ADHD. And so if we start something and we're immediately not perfect, we'd rather just stop altogether than have that shame of not being as good as we thought we were going to be.
It's like when you're not good at something, it's like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this anymore. What do you think when you get into like a new thing and it begins to fade and you begin to lose the motivation to do it? Do you think it's more of like you're self-sabotaging yourself, or do you think it's just a slow fade of just the interest is just gone?
It's interesting, you know, because I was thinking about this when I was looking at the notes for this episode, and I would say that it probably is a self-sabotage. And my boyfriend was asking me, oh, what is it about you knowing that you have this exam coming up for this Pilates course, you've paid all this money, what is it that's stopping you? Because if you actually just started it, you could probably get it done in a few weeks. Like, what is it? And I was like, well, because I'm actually scared that I'm not good enough, and I'm worried that I might not pass the exam, and that I'm not going to be as confident as other Pilates teachers. And it's the fear of that is stopping me, which is essentially I'm procrastinating, and procrastination comes from a feeling of not being good enough or it not being perfect if you start it. So I would say it's a mix. I mean, some things it's just like, like I bought a colouring book, for example, and I was like, I'm going to start being really mindful and start colouring all the time. And then actually, I did it for like a day, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm bored of it now. So, and that's just like, that's fizzling out, and that's not about being perfect. So I would say it's a mix.
Yeah.
What about you?
I think it is a mix. I think with like the different hobbies that I start, it's definitely like in the time it feels really exciting, and I've created a new identity for myself, and I'm gonna, in my mind, I've like pictured myself in like 6 months time, and I'm like absolutely amazing at it. It's like when I bought the DJ decks, I was like, I'm going to be so sick at DJing, like in 6 months time, like everyone's going to be having parties, and like I'll just come with my DJ decks and like be able to do it. And like it was really exciting for the first month of it, and like even having people round and having drinks and being like, yeah, I'm just gonna get the decks out. And then like after a while, it's just like, it just fizzles out of being like, I think I always get to a point where I'm like good at the basics, and then when it becomes time to actually try and master it, it's a bit more difficult, and that difficulty kind of makes me bored, because in my mind I'm like, I'm going to be amazing at it as soon as I start it, and I just don't have the drive to keep doing it and to keep trying it and being rubbish at it, because it just makes me feel worse about myself. So I'm like, oh, I'll just give up, I'll find something else. But I do think if it's something that's bigger, it is almost that self-sabotage.
It is.
It's like you almost feel like, oh well, it's not going to be good anyway, like, so what's the point? And I think even sometimes with this podcast, you know, it obviously we have the ambition to do it, and I want to keep doing it, but like when you have weeks when it's like feels a bit long to record, or maybe you're not getting like as many people listening or not as many comments, you're like, am I just putting a load of time into this, and is it just something that is not going to go anywhere and people aren't going to like, or like, is it just, are people even enjoying it and things like that? And that is like the self-sabotaging of like,
of course it is.
Well, like if no one likes it, what's the point of trying?
Which is like, it was essentially a bit of RSD as well there. But I think it's, you know, ultimately about just trying to give it a go and see what happens, because you never really know, and we never really know what's going to happen with this. I think always just trying your best, and then you can't look back and regret it. And it's so, but that's so easier said than done for people with ADHD, because we do just want to quit early before things get difficult, or as things are getting difficult and boring. But actually, if we just can give things our best shot, then there is no regret, is there? There's no looking back and thinking, oh, I wish I could have done more. I mean, there's so many things I look back on my life and think, I wish I'd have just stuck with it. I wish I would have stayed in that job rather than just quitting the job after 6 months, because I was such a job hopper, which again, I didn't know that was ADHD. And there's a lot of shame around that, because I look back and think, why did I not just stick that job out for longer? Why did I leave? Because in the start it seemed so exciting, and then ultimately every job is going to get a bit boring, you know, after a period of time.
I think as well, before we get into the tips, it's always good to understand why brains are like this. So why do we constantly start things and lack the motivation to keep doing it and go through it? And there's loads of different reasons. But it obviously always comes back to the impulsivity and to the dopamine. And what I've got written down here is ADHD brains are interest-driven, not importance-driven. And I really relate to this, because I feel like it is constantly, you're trying to find something that you're really interested in. Like, you don't care about how important it is, and you also don't have the choice in whether your brain lights up about something or it doesn't. So it's like, if my brain lights up about this, I want to spend all my time doing it, and I don't have a choice of like what's going to keep it going, regardless of how important it is. It's about like interest. So it can be like, I know I've got loads of work to do, but currently right now all my brain wants to do is something that I'm really interested in, so I will just do that and then put off everything else until my brain decides I'm going to be
it's not interested
in
anymore.
Else.
Yeah, and I think something that's on here as well, which is really interesting, I've never really thought about this, but it's time blindness, which is obviously huge in ADHD. But really, obviously, sorry, I keep coming back to the Pilates thing, but it's just a good example that I did this like a year and a half ago, and in my head, so I have till September, but September feels like ages away for me. I'll do it next month. And then all of a sudden, months have gone by and you've still never started that thing or restarted that thing. And then it does just become that shame shared, wherever it, you know, whether that's an actual shame shared or just metaphorically a shame shared, of all this stuff that you're just going to get back to at some point.
And And it's always like the waiting. It's like maybe you started something and you're like, oh, like I'll pick it back up in a month. And then it's been another month and another month and another month and you never pick it back up. And it's just like, I always think, for me as well, ADHD brains, like we live in the moment. Everything is very much like present day thinking. I do not have the ability to forward think, so to like think of what it's going to be like in 6 months time. Like it's very much like today, tomorrow, and then that's it. And so like in the moment you're like, I'm going to start this and I'm going to really enjoy it today and I'm going to really enjoy it tomorrow, but you don't really think about whether you're going to in 6 months time, if that makes sense. Like I'll buy everything to do this new craft that I want to learn how to do, and like the first day I'll be like, I'm loving this, like I'm going to do this every single day and get really good at it, and then I've spent all this money on something, I've lost interest in it. But me at that point when I was buying it did not think about me in 6 months time, who loses interest.
That's classic ADHD anyway, isn't it? We don't really consider the future. But it's just like looking back at childhood. I remember my mum saying, you literally tried every single hobby as a child. We did horse riding, dancing. I tried running at some point, and then I think I went to like a pottery making class, but I'd get my mum just spent so much money getting me all the best kit.
It's so expensive to do all these clubs as well, because I was exactly the same when I was younger. My dad put me on an extracurricular band because I tried so many different things. So I did ballet when I was younger. I did dancing, acting classes, singing classes, guitar lessons, horse riding, gymnastics, like school plays, like literally every single type of club that I could be part of, I did. But it would only last for a few months, and then like parents have to buy ballet shoes, ballet skirts and dresses and everything for it. And then in like 3 months' time, I'm like, Dad, I don't want to do this anymore. Bored. And he's like, I've spent like 150 quid on you doing this in 3 months' time. You don't want to do it anymore. Like even horse riding, I think I did in the summer, and then it started getting cold, and like having to go horse riding when it's cold outside, I was like, I do not want to do this. And I think that was like the last thing. My dad was like, you're done. We're not doing this anymore. We can't do this anymore.
Such a sign, actually, isn't that, of an ADHD in childhood that is probably not really, is missed or not really ever spoken about when it comes to an ADHD assessment. But that's like classic. Like I remember all the kids that were like really good at certain sports, or for example, I had friends who were really good at horse riding and they just loved that one thing, but I just couldn't stick to anything.
I think it should definitely be something that's an assessment, because I only really started thinking about it after I got my diagnosis, of looking back and thinking, actually, my whole life has been a series of starting things and not finishing them. That could be like on my gravestone. My gravestone wouldn't even have the words finished on it.
Jack of all trades, master of none.
It's like I've told someone to start writing on my gravestone and I've forgotten about it, and it's literally like I'm half finished.
Well, it's also the forgetting as well. Like, how many times have you gone out? Well, I do this all the time. Go out, do a big clothes shop, and then I forget what's in my wardrobe, and then it comes and I've got nothing to wear. But I do have things to wear. I've just not actually looked in my wardrobe, and then I'll be like, oh my God, I've completely forgot I bought that top. And then I've done it today. I've got so many clothes laid out on my floor because I've got drawers, and I'm like, okay, so I actually do have so many summer clothes, and I didn't need to spend all of this money.
Yeah, you just
I forgot about it.
It's there. And it's the same with like any
hobbies
other thing.
and anything else. Yeah,
it's like you forget that you have it. And I think another big reason of why ADHD brains start things and don't finish them is the perfectionism paradox. Like we spoke about it a bit earlier, but it is, you start things and in your mind you're like, I am going to be so good at this, like I'm going to be an expert in it. Like then you pick it up and you start doing it and you're not instantly perfect at it, so you're like, fuck this, don't want to do it anymore. And every single hobby, every single thing that I've ever got in my shame shed has been me starting it and then realizing that I'm not
as good as you wanted to be.
As good as I wanted to be. Like I imagined myself being like Pablo Picasso and doing all of this, and then I'd do it and it looks like a kid in year 5 bringing their mum home like some sort of spaghetti drawing or something.
Sorry, it's just reminding me of when we did portrait paintings of each other. Thought that was a good idea as well. Got all the paints. It was actually rude, stressful period.
Yeah. I also think ADHD rage comes into it so much, because when I start something and I'm not instantly amazing, I go and I get so frustrated at myself and I get so angry. So like the other day I was like, I'm going to get all my clays out and do some pottery. I'm going to make myself like a really nice key holder for the hallway. Started it, did it really nicely, painted it all, everything like that. Literally picked it up and it snapped in half, and I was like, no, fuck this. Matt's like, why don't you just glue it back together? By the time he'd already turned around, I
smashed it on the
floor. So it's like, it's just, as soon as I'm bad at it, I'm like, I don't want to see it anymore. I don't want to do
Never doing clay again.
Never doing it anymore. It's done. Don't want to think about it. So yeah, it's very frustrating when you're not going to be amazing at something as soon as you start it. But I guess you kind of have to learn
that it's okay not to be perfect, and also things take time. So it's probably a good time to go into the tips.
It is.
So do you want to start with tip number 1?
Okay, tip number 1, accountability. So make it someone else's problem in the nicest possible way. External accountability is not a weakness. It's a tool, and I think all ADHDers should utilise it. So, for example, tell someone specific what you're doing and when you'll have it done by. So, like, not vaguely. Don't be like, I'm going to start this and I'm going to get it done within the next couple of months. Like, be really specific and have a date and a check-in. So, like, if you have a friend and you can WhatsApp them and they're doing their own thing, just be like, you need to ask me in like 20 minutes with proof that you've actually done this. And just having those check-ins with people, that there's actually someone that can hold you accountable for what you're doing. Because I know for a fact, like, whenever I know that something needs to be done by a certain time and someone's actually going to check if it's done by a certain time, it will get done, because I am so like...
You want to prove yourself to them almost, don't you? Oh, I can do this.
I can do it. It's also like the mild social discomfort you get when you don't want to let someone down. So it's like, if you have someone who can hold you accountable, you're so afraid of like letting them down and saying like you haven't done this certain thing, then you're going to want to prove them wrong. You're going to be able to prove to yourself that you can do it, and you're not going to want to let them down.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a really good tip. Tip number 2 is body doubling. You don't have to do it alone. So we actually went to see Alex Partridge, wasn't it, the other day? Live.
Yesterday, was it yesterday?
The day before. Yeah, which was really good. And we did a live body doubling session. It was like
a world record body doubling.
It's like 700 people. And do you know what? When he started it, I thought, well, I'm going to reply to all the text messages that I have. And there was like 16 unread messages, and I got it down to like 4 by just, I think it was like, did he do it for 2 minutes or something, where I just put a timer on? He was like, right, reply to that email that you've been putting off, whatever it is that you've been putting off that you can access on your phone, let's all do it now in 2 minutes. And it worked so well. And I think it's just about, it's not necessarily that you have to work alongside another person doing the same thing, but just them being present whilst you're doing it. And again, it comes back to that accountability, because knowing that someone else is there holds you accountable. So I think it's about having someone else in the room whilst you're doing it, which regulates the ADHD brain to actually focus.
It's like, do you remember when I came round and you were stressing about your wardrobe?
Yeah, such a good
example.
example.
Like, oh, I'm going to help you organise your wardrobe. And I actually didn't even help you organise your wardrobe. I just sat in front of you while you were organising your wardrobe. But I think having someone else there while you're doing it is such a good motivator, because one, it does hold you accountable, but also like it reduces that friction of starting, because someone else is there. They're like, right, you're going to start now. And starting is always the hardest thing. And so it's just so good to have someone else there. It's like, when you know someone's coming round to the flat,
and just get everything
and
clean,
it's like, they're coming at like 3 o'clock and you're like, flat's a mess, I need to clean. I never clean like that unless I know someone's coming round. Like, I will be next level, like cleaning demon, like doing everything, because someone's coming round. So body doubling is quite similar.
Yeah, definitely. And I think something that's on here which is interesting is it mimics the focus many ADHDers have in public spaces like cafes. the coffee shop effect. I didn't even realize this was a thing, but I used to do so much of my uni work in coffee shops, and it is just that having other people around, you're almost feeding off their energy.
So true. I remember in like third year when I was like revising for my last exams, if you told me to revise at home, that would never be done because there's a TV there, there's like other things that I could be doing, so I'm not going to do it, obviously. So I would go to the library, and our library was open 24/7, so you could go at any time, and there was always people in the library. But it's like being in that environment where everyone else is doing some work, and it's like if you're the only person in the library that's not working, it's like so embarrassing. So it motivates
really
you
does
to actually do it because you're surrounded by people who are also working. And it's like you don't even need to both be working at the same time. Like you could just be in the same room doing completely different things, but it just helps regulate you and helps you keep on track.
Yeah, and like we've just mentioned there, it doesn't have to be that you have to physically get a friend round. You can literally just go to a public space and do it.
And there's so many apps now as well.
Yes,
there's so many apps.
There is one that's like a co-work virtual thing, and you can basically like work at the same time virtually with other people, which is such a cool idea.
I remember seeing one that Rich and Rox Pink did an app. It's called like Dubby, I don't know how to pronounce it, but it's like an app, and you body double with other people on the app.
It's amazing idea.
I feel like it feels a bit overwhelming for me to just like be on a FaceTime with a random person like doing some work, but there's so many different variations of it. Even on YouTube, they do like study with me live videos, and there'll be like loads of people on like a massive Zoom call or like a YouTube live, and they're all studying and they're all doing work, and it's like it's a good motivator.
Yeah, it probably makes you feel less alone as well. Sorry, 1 second, let me just check. Yeah.
So tip number 3, make it stupid small. So make something stupidly small. So one of the main reasons ADHDers quit is because there's such a big gap between where they are and where they want to be. And it's overwhelming when you know there's a big gap to where you actually want to be. And so being able to cut that gap down and make it ridiculously small, it almost feels embarrassing, is going to make it so much more manageable. So instead of being like, I'm going to go to the gym 5 times a week, I'm going to put my gym kit on, instead of I'm going to write a whole chapter of a book, I'm going to open the Word document. Instead of I'm going to learn guitar, I'm going to pick up a guitar and hold it for 2 minutes. So instead of it being like this massive thing of what you want to achieve and the gap between where you want to be and where you actually are being big, make it a bit more achievable for you, and then it doesn't feel so overwhelming. The goal is just remove that problem, like the activation energy of actually starting, because that's always the problem of picking something back up and having that energy to start it. Once you've started, you keep going. It's so easy to start once you started, to keep doing it. So if you just make it slightly easier to start, then it will be easier to keep going and to actually stick to it.
Yeah, I feel like it's very all or nothing though, isn't it? That's like ADHD brains. So we want to go in and it's like, for example, I decided that I was going to start running again, and then I signed up for a marathon, and it was very all or nothing. I should have probably started at maybe a 10k again, or like go half marathon, but no, I just went all in. I'm doing a marathon, and I think that can make it very difficult when we start something, because we do want to just put everything into it, and yeah, like you said, that's why we quit, because it's not sustainable, basically.
No, it's not. And it's like the amount of times I've done Duolingo and started learning Spanish, and then like first couple of days I get so into it and I'm like, I'm going to do like 2 hours of Duolingo in one day, and then I get bored of it. Whereas like normally the best way to do it is maybe if I'm just like, okay, maybe I'll just do 1 lesson on Duolingo a day. It doesn't feel like I'm burning myself out or like going 100% into it. It's like a little bit easier to be like, I'm just going to do 5 minutes here or 5 minutes tomorrow, instead of being like, I'm going to learn how to speak fluent Spanish in a week, you know?
Yeah.
So you're not going to do it. You need it to be a bit more achievable. And you know what, 2 minutes counts. Like, we give ourselves a lot of grief. Like, you want to do something and you spend loads of time doing it. 2 minutes is better than nothing. Showing up still counts. So like, if you've signed up for a marathon and decided you can't stick to a marathon, like, just go for like a 10-minute run. Put your running shoes on, see how you feel. Like, you don't have to do everything 100%. You can do it a little bit, and that is still so much better than a lot of other people. And it still counts. You're still starting something, and you should be proud of, you know, going for a little run the same as you would be proud of doing a marathon, because it's still a big feat for a lot of people.
It's still something, isn't it? Okay, tip number 4, identity stacking. So this is about reframing how you perceive a new hobby or whatever it is that you're starting, because ADHD responds well to identity rather than obligation. So for example, rather than thinking I have to go for a run, which it does fill me with a huge amount of dread when I think I have to go for a run. There's nothing else that I want to do less often when I feel like I'm forcing myself to do something and I feel obligated to do it, rather than I'm someone who runs. So that changes your relationship with that thing, and it makes you identify with the whatever it is that you're doing. So when you start to see yourself as a person who does the thing, even if it is imperfect, quitting feels like a conflict with your identity rather than just breaking the habit. Sorry, I'm trying to think what to say. And then what happens is then you start to adopt the habits of a person who does that thing. So let's say I am someone who runs. You naturally then start to do things that someone who would run would do. Maybe that means going to bed earlier, eating healthier, not drinking alcohol as much because you know in the morning that you might be going for a run. And you adopt healthier habits because you identify with being a runner. And that then makes it easier, because by doing those things that a runner would do, it naturally makes it easier to go for that run. And I think running's probably a good example of that, in terms of, like, I don't know, if you I want to start crocheting. I'm trying to think how you would become a crocheter. Like, what would the identity of a crocheter be? I think running's a really good example, but
I think, like, with all arts and crafts and hobbies like crocheting, painting and things like that, we always kind of frame it as, you'll speak to someone and you're like, I'm trying to learn how to paint, I'm trying to learn how to crochet. You know, by reframing it and changing it to, like, I am painted. Like, I don't know what it is. It's more of like the language and that identity switch. Because I think when you tell people I'm starting to do this, it feels like a lot of pressure to start something. Yeah. And then if you reframe it of more of like I really enjoy doing
a bit more confidence. Yeah. So like, I'm trying to paint, I'm learning to paint. That's very different. I'm trying to paint means that, well, I'm not very good at it, but I'm just trying. But I'm learning to paint just changes it a little bit, and that kind of shows, because when you learn something new, there will obviously be hiccups, you won't be perfect, and people understand that if you're learning something, you're not going to be the finished product right now. But I think when you say I'm trying to paint, it just it lacks the confidence.
Yeah, it's about that. It is that identity thing of being like, I can be a person who does these things, and afterwards, you know, a lot of your habits will naturally change, because it's more of how you see yourself, rather than thinking, you know, I have to do this because I told myself I was going to do it. It's like, you know, with running, if you start thinking of yourself as a runner, you won't feel obligated to go for runs, because that's just who you are as a person.
Yeah.
Tip number 5, gamify it. We say this all the time. This comes back as well to our last episode about the Girls' Guide to Money. Gamifying is such a massive strategy for ADHD. We need a reward loop. We need something that is going to tell us we're good for doing whatever it is. Duolingo, I know I've just said that it really frustrated me before because it gets really angry. Apps with streaks and stuff are a good tool for a motivator, because when you break a streak, you're like, oh no, like, I've worked really hard to get that streak. You need something that is going to give you that dopamine for keep doing it, and so you keep the motivation for it. If you want to get some gold stickers and put a chart on your wall, I would love to have a gold sticker wall, actually. Maybe I'm going to get some stickers.
They were the best.
They would be so fun, and it's like, every day you stick to the thing that you said you were going to stick to, you put a gold sticker on the wall, and then when you get to a certain amount of stickers, you get to treat yourself. You get a goal. You get a goal. You get a
gold star.
A gold star. You get a reward. You get a present for doing it. Whether that's like going out for dinner, you know, being able to book a holiday, or, you know, treating yourself to something. It is so important to be able to reward yourself for doing something, because, you know, a lot of the time it's weird with ADHD, like the simplest things are sometimes the most difficult things. And so if your goal is to do 2 minutes of Duolingo every day, for a lot of people it might seem like a really stupidly easy task, but to be able to stick to something and do it every single day as someone with ADHD isn't as simple as it sounds. So, you know, you deserve something good to be able to stick to it. You should reward yourself at milestones, not just goals. So this isn't about rewarding yourself for perfectionism, not rewarding yourself for being really good at it. Like if you're trying to learn a language, you don't need to reward yourself because you're suddenly fluent in it, but reward yourself for sticking to it, for practicing it once a day, and that will help you to continue to do it, because you're not rewarding yourself based off of how good you are. You're just rewarding yourself on how much you can actually stick to it.
It's positive reinforcement, really, isn't it? It's like the just giving yourself, reinforcing yourself that if I do X, then I'm going to have some little treat at the end of it. So yeah, that is a really good idea. Okay, tip number 6, give yourself an official quit versus a fade out. So this one's a bit different, and it's about people making peace with stopping without the shame spiral. So the problem with fading out is that you never really decide to stop. So the thing sits in your shame shed, forever half finished, and then the guilt compounds every time you think about it. So reframing it to give yourself permission to officially quit things, like that is okay. And I think because we do put so much time and effort to these things that we start, it's the what is it when the amount of time invested into something. It's like when people that stay in relationships just because they've invested so much time with them. Friendships, you've been friends with someone for 12 years and you think, I've been friends for so long, I'm investing so much time into them, so I must stay friends with them. So just being able to give yourself permission and grace to be like, it's okay, I'm done with this. It maybe isn't what I expected it to be, and I am going to quit, and that's completely okay.
Yeah, you should be allowed to quit things. I mean, well done for you for starting something, and if you decide that it's not for you, that's absolutely fine. And I think, you know, being able to decide that you want to quit something is so much more empowering than just starting something and it fading out and you losing interest, because it removes that shame from it, because you've actively made that decision that you don't want to do it. Like, for example, I signed up for the Hackney Half last year and I was supposed to do it this year. I signed up for it with my boyfriend, and in my mind I was like, yeah, I'm going to become a runner. Like, I'm going to really enjoy it. I'm going to do it. And then I started doing a few runs and I was like, I actually don't enjoy running. And I think in my mind, I thought, you know, everyone who lives in London and is in their late 20s is doing half marathons and all of this. So, you know, maybe I should do it just because everyone's doing it. And then as I was doing it and running, I was like, I don't enjoy doing it. And I felt like I was only doing it because I thought that I should be doing it. And then as soon as I told myself, actually, I don't want to run a half marathon, I don't enjoy running, I don't need to be the type of person that enjoys running, there was no shame in it at all. Yeah. Because I was so scared to tell people, I don't know if I want to do the marathon, I don't want to, you know, disappoint people, and I've told everyone that I'm going to do it, and then not doing it makes me look like I'm a quitter. But to actually say, I don't enjoy it and I don't want to do it is completely fine. And that gives you a lot more power than starting something and just fading out and forget about it.
Definitely. And I think if it is something physical, like, you know, let's say your guitar or skateboard or that candle making kit that you bought when you decided you wanted to start a candle business, whatever it is that is actually physical, can you get rid of something today? Like, if you're listening to this and you have a physical shame shed, whatever it might be, or, you know, metaphorically, is there something that you can just let go of, or, like, you know, physically or metaphorically let go of today? Because that, I think, is sometimes a release. Because if it's sitting up there, then you think, oh my God, all that candle making stuff, all that money that I spent on it, why do I not keep doing that? And it's like, that just feeds into the shame that you have. Whereas if you just let it go, just give yourself permission to let it go and just be like, it's okay, I don't want to do it anymore, and move on.
Is there anything in your shame shed that you can let go of?
No, maybe the e-commerce business, maybe the other podcasts that I have, I've been thinking I kind of just want to take that Instagram down now, take the podcast down, just because I feel like I don't have any time for it anymore. I don't do it anymore, but it's like I'm holding on to it because I've invested so much time into it, and actually it's like I don't need it there. So maybe the old podcast and the Instagram page associated with it, to be fair.
Yeah.
What
it's
about
kind
you?
of like your chapter of your life, and then you move to
on,
the next thing, and it's not necessarily like quitting it. It's just some things run their
course.
On their course, yeah. Oh, there's so much I could get rid of. I could get rid of my crocheting kit. I've literally not touched it in years.
Yeah.
The air dry clay, I'm going to keep that just because
I think the air dry clay sounds
and like
very
painting,
cute.
I do pick up every now and again. But like a skateboard, I'm never going to skateboard ever. Still have that. Haven't skateboarded in years. Ukulele, I actually already gave away, so I don't have that. But yeah, there are so many things. I do try to have a little bit of a clear out like every year or so because I need space for my new hobbies. So it's like the shame shed just keeps cycling. But that's the thing of like maybe you could have it as like, well, if you want to start something new, you want to start making candles, then you have to get rid of one thing to be able
good idea.
To start something new.
Yeah, I like that idea.
And then that helps you refresh it.
Yeah, shed.
Refresh the shame shed. Maybe it's not like years old, your shame shed. It's just like every year it gets a new thing added.
Detox.
A little detox, yeah.
You know.
Is this me? Tip 7, so protect the restart. We don't actually quit at the hardest moment, is what I think of like ADHDers. But it's when you've had a break and when you miss one session and the guilt builds, the gap widens, and going back to it feels so much harder. So I always use like going to the gym as a really good example of like I will go weeks and weeks of being really consistent and going to the gym. I'll be doing like 3-4 days a week at the gym, and then it will be the next week, and then maybe one day I'm like, oh, I really don't fancy going, and then I don't go that day, and then I don't go the next day, and then that guilt of I haven't been in the last couple of days, and it just keeps on building, keeps building, and the gap widens, and then the idea of restarting it almost feels like going back to square one of like when you get in a good routine of it, it's fine, and then as soon as the routine breaks, restarting it and going back into it feels like I'm going back to the gym for the first time ever.
It really does.
And that's the scariest thing. So it is really good to try to protect that restart. Think of it in advance of what's actually going to happen after you miss. You know, if you miss a day, that's absolutely fine. But just tell yourself the next day, I'm going to go back. Like, no guilt tax. Don't be like, oh, I've missed a day. I'm not going to do it today. You know, because you're just prolonging it. You feel guilty for not going, so you don't go again. And you just get stuck in this cycle. And then you never go back. And, like, just make a rule for yourself of, like, how many days can you miss? You know, like if you're running, if you're going to the gym, if it's like you're trying to learn a new language, or, you know, there's a course that you're doing that you need to revise for, you know, give yourself that break of like, okay, yeah, I can miss a day, but give yourself a strict rule that you can stick to of like, okay, I'm never going to miss more than 2 days in a row. And then it's fine. You can have those breaks, but as long as you know that you're going to go back to it, and lower the bar. So like, there's a lot of pressure. Like I said, if I miss the gym, it feels like I'm going back to square one. It feels like I've like lost all my understanding of what to do when I'm at the gym. And that's what it feels like.
It does weirdly feel like you've never done it before, doesn't it?
I'm like, oh my God, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what, and that is scary. So just lower the bar. Like if you've had like a few days off, then yeah, you're not going to be as good as like if you would have been sticking to it consistently. But just like accept that and like understand that, all right, it's not going to be like going back to square one, but it's also not going to be as if I've been going like every single day, and that's absolutely fine. Just lower those expectations.
Yeah, and I think that feeds pretty nicely into the closing points, that bringing it back to reality, that not everything needs to be finished. Things can just be a hyper-focus phase, and that is so fine. Not every single thing interest that you have needs to become a skill, or you need to be a professional, or, you know, who knows, with this podcast it may go somewhere, it might not, but enjoy the process, I think, of learning those things, rather than thinking that you have to become a pro and it has to become your whole life. Like, there's actually a lot the fact, like we said, that we can actually try all these different things and learn so many different skills. Yeah, we might not be masters at them all, but I think that's really quite special about an ADHD brain, that we're able to do that.
And how brave and how like courageous it is to actually start something, because so many people will put off starting a hobby because, you know, it takes a lot of time and energy, and it's like, even just to start something and give it a go is so good. And not every single hobby needs to be monetized. I think this is like something that I always struggle with as well, because I'll start a hobby and think, you know, like I've got a sewing machine and I'll sew one top and I'll really enjoy it, and then I'm like, oh my god, well maybe I could start like a business on Vinted and, you know, make my own clothes and start selling them, and I'm gonna be an entrepreneur and do all of this. It's fine to have a hobby that you just enjoy and you do it in your downtime. I know for a lot of us with ADHD, like enjoying a hobby is like a form of relaxation and downtime can be impossible, because we're always thinking of like how we can make it into something, what we can do with it. But, you know, like if you want to do painting, you don't have to become an artist. You know, if you want to learn how to play an instrument, you don't need to be in a band and become like a singer and charts and all of this. Like, you can just do it for fun and know that you're not going to be perfect at it, but it's just something to do, something to enjoy. And if you've tried something and it wasn't for you, you know, it's still good. You know?
Yeah, exactly. And I think building structure around the things that matter to you so that they can survive the honeymoon phase. And we talk about the honeymoon phase a lot, and whether it's honeymoon phase in relationships, that exists when it comes to hobbies. And it is that, you know, 3-month period where everything's fun and it's novelty. But what can you do to build structures around that so that it survives past that phase, and it does become something that you might actually be really good at? Final questions then to each other. Is there one thing that you genuinely want to stick to right now?
This podcast.
I was going to say exactly the same thing. Definitely the podcast for me. And is there anything from this episode you are actually going to try?
Yeah, I'm going to do a complete reset of my shame shed, I think. I'm going to get rid of all the stuff that I haven't used in ages and give myself more space to be able to
try new things
and try to enjoy them as a hobby, as what they are, rather than thinking that I need to be amazing at it.
Yeah.
What about you?
Probably the body doubling, just to try and get this Pilates exam done. Probably having my boyfriend just help me a little bit. I'm going to rent a reformer and be like, set a day, like, don't know, 3 days a week where they're reformer practice days, and try and get it done.
I mean, I'll come round.
And you can do it.
I would love for you to teach me some reformers. It'd be awfully embarrassing, but I think
it wouldn't be embarrassing. So there we go, body doubling, yeah. With you, my boyfriend, and maybe Matt. Can you imagine Matt on a reformer?
For some context, he's 6'4". I don't even know if he would fit on a reformer, but that would be absolutely hilarious.
Be hilarious.
And do you know what? I would love to see him do it, because every time I go to Pilates, he's always like,
it's so easy.
It's so easy. And he would go on it and he would struggle so much. Boys always struggle with like reformer Pilates, I think. And they always talk about it. Like,
it's pretty funny to watch, actually.
Yeah, it is.
Anyway, that was a very good episode, and hope everyone's enjoyed it. And we will see you next week for the next one.